Hey guys, welcome to the track guide for 2025 Season 3, Week 1. This time we'll be showing you the Motegi circuit in the Porsche 963 GTP car. So when starting your lap, you'll be coming out of the last corner. It's a right-hander on the far left-hand side of the circuit, and you pretty much want to stay there for the entirety of the start-finish straight because it leads into turn 1, which is also a right-hander. And the start-finish straight, and which is also a pretty consistent characteristic for this circuit, is pretty short, so you won't really get to use the full power of the where most of its advantage lies compared to all the other cars. So when negotiating traffic, you want to make sure that you're most efficient on the short straights that you have available. So yeah. Anyway, starting out the lap, you'll be coming out of on the car. Now we're good. You'll be starting out on the far left hand side, crossing the start finish line, and turn 1 is a double right-hander, which sort of has two apexes as well. So you'll be also trying to make some use of this extra bit of surface on the left right here, which is the blue and white curb on the left. But I'm just gonna show the full complex at full speed. So your reference point in terms of braking and also where you want to look before looking at the apex proper is this 100 meter board right here. And this is more or less what you aim for in terms of where you want to transition from throttle to brakes. And yeah, your transition should also not be too sudden and not be too violent as well, because first of all, the GTP does like to be treated a bit more smoothly than other cars, and it also rewards you with pace and more instant grip when you do so, but also because you're slightly moving the car towards the left in order to make full use of this extra bit of curbing on the left, which from the outside, yeah, you'll see me make full use of the curb available as much as I can anyway, without losing my reference point at the apex proper, and also get most of the slowing down part done when traveling in a straight line. And more or less when you pass the 50 meter board, that's when you start going off the brakes slightly, shift into the trail braking phase, and aim for the first of the two apexes. And all of this time, you want to keep some brake input on in order to keep rotating the car, keep slowing it down slightly, in order to get it hooked in time for the second apex, and which should come into view more or less when you passing this last bit of curbing on the right. That's when the second apex comes into view, and also when you spot the second apex, that's when you can start going onto the throttle again, introduce some throttle input as well, and but also be mindful that you want to do that pretty smoothly because the car is still pretty heavily loaded on the left rear, and it won't be able to tolerate too aggressive of a throttle input. What you're wanting to do is feed the throttle in gradually, and the moment you feel the car accelerating while still maintaining forward momentum, that's when you start increasing the throttle with ever decreasing steering angle. So when coming out of turn 2, you're aiming to obviously make a full circuit available. There's a bit of curbing on the left to help you out on the exit as well. So yeah, coming out of turn 2, you'll have lots of time to prepare for the upcoming double left-hander section, which is, yeah, it's not quite a mirror to turns 1 and 2, because the first apex is a lot tighter than the second one. The second one is more or less an ongoing acceleration phase, as opposed to turns 1 and 2, where you're basically taking both apexes at more or less the same speed. But yeah, I'm just gonna show the turn 3 and 4 complex at full speed. So you'll have lots of time to go back over towards the right when coming out of turn 2. So since it's a left-hander, you want to be on the far right-hand side, and this time you'll have a bit more time to get the car on this extra bit of curbing available on the right, because the curb starts a bit earlier than it does for turn 1. And once again, you're looking out for the 100 meter board on the right, as opposed to turn 1, where you brake more or less right as you pass the 100 meter board. In this instance, you want to shift onto the brakes about 115 meters, I would say, before the corner. More or less about, yeah, when the 100 meter board is pretty close or is just about to go out of your peripheral, or is just about to go into your peripheral vision rather, that's when you start to transition onto the brakes. And once again, you want to commit onto the brakes as aggressively as you can without locking up, obviously. And you want to get most of the deceleration part done as long as you're traveling in a straight line. And once again, be mindful that right as you transition off the curb onto this bit of access road right here, that's when you start to release the brakes as well, because that's when you want to start turning into the corner proper. And be mindful that this transition also has a bit tricky, because your right front wheel is unloaded very briefly because you're crossing from the curb onto the asphalt again. So be mindful that there's a bit of a risk of locking your right front right as you pass this transition right here. And more or less, as I've said, more or less as you pass the end of this curb right here, that's when you start to release the brakes slightly, start turning into the corner. And it's a pretty aggressive turn in this. Like the angle at which you turn in is a bit deceiving, because you come out at or at a bit of a shallow angle on exit. But this is all for good reason, because you cannot make full use of the throttle pedal right away, because immediately after turn 3 there's a long-winded turn 4 coming up, which is it's not quite full throttle. Once again, you want to start feeding the throttle in and accelerate as smoothly as you can, carry as much speed and as much momentum as you can through the exit here, because it will pay dividends all the way down this long straight down to turn 5. And pretty similar to turn 2 in terms of acceleration. This one is maybe a bit more tricky to nail exactly in terms of throttle percentage you want to take, because the traction here is a bit more tricky, because you're carrying a bit more speed, and also your rear tires are quite literally screaming for help at this point, because they've gone through 2 pretty heavy acceleration phases with a lot of lateral load and a lot of combined loads as well, under braking and under acceleration. So you want to treat your tires as smoothly as you can in order to make the long run work in this car over it. So once again, you'll have a lot of time to go back over towards the left in order to prepare for turn 5, which is a pretty standard but also pretty tricky low right-hander, which at full speed looks like this. So this one is all the corners, now looking at it, are actually pretty similar in terms of where you want to brake and also how you approach them. Once again, you're looking out for the 100 meter board on the left, and similar to turn 3, you want to be transitioning onto the brakes proper at about 115, at right around 150 meters, or once again right as the 100 meter board starts going into your peripheral vision. And once again, you want to get most of the deceleration part done as long as you're traveling in a straight line. And once again, make full use of the curb on the left, and you won't have any sort of nasty surprises in terms of surface change here, but still be mindful that on the brakes you want to still keep a bit of margin in order to be able to turn the car into the corner eventually. You don't really want to over push the entry here, because the more efficient you are with slowing the car down, the more dividends it will pay when turning into the corner, carrying the speed through the apex and also carrying the speed through the exit. In this instance, you want to take a bit more of a V-shaped approach, because it's, as opposed to turns 1 and 3, I would say, you're more focused on the exit here. So you'll get, it feels pretty aggressive in terms of how much or how aggressively you decelerate the car before turning into the corner, because you want to get on throttle pretty much straight away as soon as the car is slowed down far enough for it to take some throttle input again. And as I've said, you want to take a bit of a V-shaped line through here, because it will help you all the exit, and it surely helps more than carrying that 2-3 kph extra under braking, because that will just make the car wash out wide and will not allow you to get on throttle as early as you really want to. So yeah, take more of a V-shaped approach here, make full use of the track on exit, and you can pretty much stay on the curb here. It doesn't really hurt your acceleration in order to save the most distance you can and go through this right kink right here, which at full speed looks like this, but it's basically just a flat out right-hander, and it's all pretty much a setup for turns 7, 8 and 9, which is a pretty fast left, medium speed right, and slow speed left-hander coming up. And yeah, you want to bring the car back over towards the right in order to prepare for turn 7, as just said, which at full yeah, turn 7, 8, 9 at full speed look like this. So when preparing for turn 7, you've just come out of the pretty much, or yeah, it is flat out this right kink right here, and you want to bring the car back over towards the right as soon as you can. Like at most, come out of the right-hand king at about 2/3 of the track width to the left, in order to still have enough time to bring the car back over towards the right. And in terms of where you want to place your car, there's once again a bit of curving to help you out on the right. You want to obviously make full use of that as best you can, because you want to open up the angle into the left-hander as you can. And in terms of braking, it is a bit hard to spot because yeah, I would say right as this white line, which is sort of in line with the 100-meter board, is completely gone out of your view. That's when you slowly transition onto the brakes. And once you're on this curb, or once you start approaching this curb, you should be, by the time you start hitting the curb, you should be committed onto the brakes proper already. All the load should be shifted towards the front, because you're about to hit a bit of a surface change, and if you start shifting the load whilst crossing from one surface to another, run more risk of unsettling the car, locking up, or having an entry snap or whatever. So you should be committed onto the brakes fully by the time you start hitting this surface change right here. Make full use of the track on the right, but yeah, you'll be on it pretty briefly, because you want to turn in pretty soon thereafter. And once again, take a bit more of a V-shaped approach to the first one, because you want to get out as pretty much on the middle of the track before turning back over towards the right, which is the entry for turn 8. If you hit this first curb too early, you will come out too far on the right, which will force you to kill too much momentum into the right-hander. So be sure that you want to leave some margin towards the right in order to open up the upcoming right-hander. And in similar fashion to the first one, you want to, yeah, in this instance, maybe for turn 8 or for turn 8 for the right-hander, you want to hit the curb right in the middle. So there is no, yeah, you'll be coming out on the far left-hand side. So for the first one, you want to take a bit more of a late apex, and for this, yeah, just show it right here. For the first one, you want to take a bit more of a late apex in order to open up the entry for turn 8. And for turn 8 itself, you can hit the apex basically where the apex is, which is in the middle of the corner, because there's no need to prepare immediately for an upcoming corner. However, you still want to bring the car as efficiently and as smoothly, but also pretty quickly back towards the right in order to set up turn 9. And turn 9 is pretty similar to turn 5 in terms of how you want to slow down the car and how you want to choose your line through here. And also be mindful that right around here you won't really be able to get or be too attacking on the brakes once again, because you may not be traveling at that high speed as you would have done for turn 1 and turn 3 and also turn 5. So be mindful that you're carrying you are carrying less speed, but you're also under a lot less load in terms of downforce, and also the tires are pretty stressed from all the high speed direction changes we've just gone through. So you want to be kind to your tires in this braking zone. And similar to turn 5, it will pay dividends. The more you take out of the entry, the more the car will give you the entry, apex, and exit phase of the corner. And once again, similar to turn 5, you want to take a bit more of a V-shaped, sort of late-ish apex approach in order to straight line the exit as much as possible, because it's all about getting on throttle early and efficiently, and not having any snaps and not having to wait on the front in order to make the corner. And if you don't have to wait on the front, the car will turn immediately, and you'll be able to choose as straight an exit as possible. So yeah, coming out of turn, what is it, 9, I think. We can just come out of turn 9. You have a bit of a straight line coming ahead, and you use this once again in order to shift the car back towards the left rather, for the upcoming right-hander, which is at this point turn 10, which at full speed looks something like this. So as I've said, coming out of turn 9, now I've got it. Coming out of turn 9, you want to bring the car and as efficiently back over towards the left in order to prepare for turn 10. And in terms of braking, for in this instance, you want to be braking right around a third of the way between the 100 board and the 50-meter board. You can be pretty aggressive in this instance because the track is going slightly uphill. It's not really that obvious when looking out the window right here, but since the track falls downhill after this corner, this means this part must be going uphill. So you can be pretty aggressive on the brakes, and you want to be not hitting the curb on the inside immediately. Like, choose your line in a way that once again allows you to straight line the exit as much as possible. Hug the curb as much as you can, but try to hug it at the earliest around halfway through the curve. Because once again, you want to be choosing a bit of a late apex in order to straight line the exit as much as possible. And yeah, try to open up the steering as quickly as you can, and once again be firm but also smooth and yeah, efficient on throttle when coming out of turn 10. So yeah, when coming out of turn 10, they're pretty soon thereafter, or immediately thereafter, it follows a pretty long straight line. I think it's the longest on the circuit basically. So, but also you want to be staying on the left hand side because the upcoming corner is turn 11, I think, at this point, which is also a right-hander. So you can basically stay where you are, get your upshifts right, and stay on the left hand side in order to prepare for turn 11. This time we'll be going downhill, as is pretty easily visible at this point. So in terms of braking, you keep that in mind that you're going downhill. The car will be accelerating a bit quicker than it would be if the surface was even, but also it slows down a lot more. Or the slowing down part is a lot more tricky when going downhill because you need to account for the weight of the car in this instance as well. So yeah, when approaching turn 11, you need to make full use of the curb on the left. I'm just gonna show it at full speed. So when slowing down the car for turn 11, you want to, once again, you have a lot of time to bring the car onto the curb with your left hand side wheels in order to open up the corner as much as possible. And pretty much around halfway between the 150 and 100 meter board, you want to commit onto the brakes proper. And this time you need to be committing onto the brakes firmly, but also efficiently once again, because you will run the risk of locking up the risk of locking up the inside front, or the right front in this instance, is pretty high. You cannot see it, or maybe you can see it a little bit, but no, actually not. Maybe on the webcam you can see it. You have constant ABS, the ABS LEDs flashing up because the car is under pretty heavy load, and the risk of locking up here is pretty high. So, and the lock up here when going downhill on the heaviest braking zone of the circuit, you don't really want to lock up at this point. So yeah, once again, I would recommend to leave a bit of margin on the brakes and rather focus on decelerating the car to a point where it will still give you something back when turning in and carrying the speed through the exit. You don't really want to be waiting for the front to bite again, because by that point you will have lost everything you have gained under braking potentially, and maybe even more. So yeah, once again, slow the car down in a straight line as much as possible, and pretty much right as you pass this last yellow reference line right here, that's when you start to release the brakes slightly and turn into the corner itself. And you can take a bit of liberties with going onto the grass slightly to the inside of this blue and white curb. But in this instance, I've managed to basically maximize the actual track available. But yeah, just as a tidbit here, can make a bit of use of on the grass right here on the right. So, but also you don't want to overdo it, because obviously eventually there's an off track, and also the grass will obviously has less grip, so there's a bit of risk of unsettling the car either by having a snap or some understeer. And yeah, once again, make sure that you slow the car down to a point where it will still allow you to rotate and accelerate efficiently without overloading the tires. And immediately thereafter, you want to be coming back over towards the right in order to open up this last quick double left and right-hander. onto the start-finish straight once again, which at full speed looks something like this. You will have heard me use quite a bit of grass there in the final chicane. So coming out of turn 11, as I've said, you want to open up this first of the two upcoming left-handers as much as possible in order to manage as much of a straight braking zone into the final sector itself. So yeah, you don't really want to come out too far towards the right because eventually the grip will start running out. So I think the ideal grip is right around the middle part when approaching the first left-hand kink, and around 2/3 or 3/4 to the way to the right of the road surface available between the two left-handers. That's where most of the grip will be laid down during a race, and also that's where most is when starting out on a clean. So yeah, as I've said, you want to be slowing down the car consistently and as much in a straight line as possible when going through the two left-hand kinks. And it's all a setup, and it's all about opening up this left-hander, but also the right-hander which follows thereafter. You want to slow down the car consistently and all the time while going into this second left-hander, and also you want to open up the left-hand apex as much as possible. You can take some liberties with the grass once again, but be mindful that you shouldn't be overdoing it. The maximum would be around the middle part of your car on the inside edge of the curb, as is often the case on iRacing. And same for the second part, but also be mindful that on the second part, if you start using a bit of grass, which is available with the same sort of rule set that was that is for the first one of the two, you want to be mindful that here the grass is maybe a bit more tricky to negotiate because it can unsettle the car under acceleration as well. So yeah, it's mostly about if you want to take some liberties, do it with the first one rather than the second one in order to open up the exit. And yeah, once again, you want to get the car straightened out as soon as possible in order to accelerate smoothly and efficiently out of the final corner. And you have a bit of access road and grass obviously available beyond the white curb, but the most efficient way is to just make use of the blue and white curb. Not really go over the edge of it because there's a slight dip beyond the curb which leads into the grass and then onto the asphalt and then back onto the grass again. So you have a bit of bumpiness potentially when going beyond the curb, which will just take away some of the momentum. So every bit of momentum you gain by going on throttle earlier and straightening out the steering earlier, you will lose inevitably when going beyond the blue and white curb. So as much as you can, try to avoid it, but be mindful that if everything runs out, if it's too late to still keep it on the curb, you still have some margin on it. It will lose you more time than it will gain you potentially. So yeah, we finished where we started out basically. You want to keep the car on the left hand side, bring the car towards the start finish line, and yeah, that is one lap of the Motegi circuit in the 960 car. So that was the first track out of 2025 Season 3 in the 963 GTP car, showing you the Motegi circuit, and I hope you have a nice week of racing in IMSA, and I hope I could give you some tidbits here and there to help you with your pace and your track knowledge, and I'll see you guys next week.